Hello and welcome to the season finale of Make Your Point Season 3. I'm Priyanka Lala, your chairperson, and it is wonderful to see you all here today. Schools remain vying for the title of Make Your Point National Champion Season 3. So let's take a quick look back at how they got here.
If you believe in the right to life, then you must believe in the right to have the means to defend it. These are the words of Charlie Reese, a conservative American journalist.
A moment of silence for the children of this nation who have to sit on the ground due to our lack of furniture. Audience, a moment of silence for the 40% of schools in TNT that need major repairs.
Mario, you may be performing, but we are the proposition are here to advocate for the furthering of our nation's political landscape. Furthermore, inappropriate comments made in Parliament are testament to exactly who we should not be voting for.
My colleague has shown that debates don't predict the polls, so I focus on something that does not reflect true leadership.
Colonial-era monuments do not enhance the teaching of history. They may supplement a presentation, but they will never enable learners to grasp the true meaning of history.
As a reminder, once Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Make
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to imagine waking up every morning knowing that putting food on the table is a daily struggle, knowing that education is a distant dream as survival takes priority over school. Now imagine every path set out to you out of hardship seems blocked, no job offers, no safety nets, just a relentless fight to make it to the next day. And as days of desperation turns into weeks, crime seems less like an option and more like a lifeline. A way to survive in a world that offers no other options. When all hope is stripped away, what once seemed unthinkable now becomes the inevitable. Today, we address a profound issue of national significance. Is poverty the root cause of crime? But first, let's clarify the term so we avoid confusion. Crime is defined as an act that is prohibited or punishable by a governing authority, according to the Encyclopedia of Criminology and Criminal Justice. Meanwhile, the World Bank defines poverty as a severe deprivation of basic needs, such as food, clean water, sanitation, health, and access to information. But let me make this abundantly clear right away. Poverty is not just about lacking financial resources. It encompasses limited access to education, healthcare, and safe living environments. Now, I want to go to a philosophical perspective here for a minute, right? Aristotle, one of history's greatest thinkers, argued that a fair society provides the resources for people to strive, believing that true human growth occurs when people have stability and the freedom to make meaningful choices. Poverty, however, traps people in survival mode, overwhelming their dreams and moral choices. As Aristotle would suggest and agree with us, unmet needs lead to disorder and despair, making crime more likely. Now, audience, did you know that the United Nations, of all their goals, has prioritized the eradication of poverty as the #1 goal? Do you know why this is? Because poverty isn't just one issue, it's the root of so many others, including crime. The UN's priority reflects the global understanding that severe deprivation limits choices, often pushing people towards desperate actions. If the United Nations can see this connection between crime and poverty, why can't the opposition? Let me go to a sociological perspective here for a minute. Henry Tucker, one of the fathers of sociology, showed that poverty often stems from barriers like lack of access to education, healthcare, and jobs. These obstacles make it feel nearly impossible to succeed legally, sometimes leading to crime. Let me go to another sociologist. Robert Merton provided his strain theory, which supports this. He explains that when society holds success and wealth as ideals, those in poverty who can't achieve these through lawful means may resort to crime out of frustration. Together, these two sociological perspectives from some of the fathers of sociology highlight how our lack of opportunity leads people down this path, especially in poorer communities, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let me get to the facts. The evidence, while it is sad, is undeniable. About 26% of our people live below the poverty line, and youth unemployment hovers at 24%, according to the Inter-American Development Bank. A study by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, or the TTPS, reports that nearly 70% of homicides are linked to gang activity, often driven by young people who feel that they have no other option due to their economic situation. In struggling areas, violent crime rates spike, illustrating how poverty corrodes community safety. Let me go to the across Latin America and the Caribbean. The UN Development Program shows that regions with poverty rates above 30%, such as El Salvador and Honduras, are plagued by violence. This reinforces how poverty fuels crime, not true even in our country, but throughout the region. This cycle of poverty and crime doesn't just affect one generation, judges. It traps entire families for decades. I know it's something we don't like to admit, but it's a proven fact and we must address it. Studies from UNICEF and the World Bank reveal that children born into poverty are significantly more likely to turn into criminals as adults without intervention. This isn't just statistics, it's the harsh reality of those growing up where survival needs overshadow dreams. Strain's theory, as I proposed earlier, supports this, showing how ongoing deprivation breeds frustration and despair, pushing people towards crime when there's no other way out. Now, let me get something clear. We are not saying that poverty is the only factor of crime. We would never say that. But we are saying it is the root factor. They're going to come up here and quote other factors for you. But do not be deceived. All the factors that they are going to quote are exacerbated by poverty. And in most cases, like mental illness and addiction, they play a role. Globally, the World Bank reports that 1.3 billion people live in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $1.90 USD a day. In South Africa, where over 55% of people live below the poverty line, violent crime rates are significantly high. In the US, studies show that 50% of violent crime offenders come from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. And UNICEF reports that poor urban children in India are 2.5 times more likely to engage in delinquent behavior. This is the global examples here. In conclusion, poverty isn't just a lack of resources, it is a profound social trap that denies individuals opportunities for growth, stability, and ethical choices. We must address crime to tackle poverty at its root. Let's end with a quote by Nelson Mandela. Overcoming poverty is not a task of charity, it is an act of justice. Thank you.
A thought-provoking start to this final debate. Now will the opposition speaker, Aisha Brathwaite of San Fernando Central Secondary School, please take the floor.
Good morning, Honorable House. The World Bank organization describes poverty as having many faces, changing from place to place and across time. Poverty has been described in many ways: hunger, lack of shelter, no access to healthcare, no schooling, illiteracy, and no jobs. It emphasizes that there is no one cause of poverty because what emerges from poverty is different in every case. The fact that the World Bank recognizes that there are underpinnings of poverty negates the notion that poverty is the root cause of crime. If there are factors that contribute to poverty, then logically, poverty can never be the root cause of crime. It is interesting to note that in the World Population Review, Trinidad and Tobago, along with other countries, did not appear on the list of countries for the highest poverty rate. Yet, and listen carefully, it appeared on the list for the countries with the highest crime rate. Explain that, Mario. Where's the causation or correlation between poverty and crime? Exactly, there's no causation between the two. Honorable House, saying that poverty is the main cause of crime promotes a harmful stereotype, one that implies being poor means being predisposed to breaking the law. This stereotype is an insult to the less fortunate, many of whom earn an honest living. We must not perpetuate this toxic pattern of stereotyping the poor. Many in our country, like our own Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Kid Rowley, and late former Prime Minister, Mr. Basil Pandey, have risen from poverty through hard work, integrity, and respecting the law. Playing the poverty card to excuse crime undermines the achievements of those who upheld the strong moral value foundations despite financial hardship. Honorable House, there's a thin line between poverty and lawlessness. Let's face it, we live in a lawless society. In an article by Express, Dr. Dios Duran, renowned criminologist, stated that lawlessness is a learned behavior, and this is done by people seeing it done repeatedly by others who reap benefits without punishment. With the opponents, crime comes in various forms, but the crime that we seek to highlight is not the chicken your neighbor steals from your backyard. We want to address the crime that is paralyzing our nation, the senseless and brutal murders, the kidnapping, and the domestic violence. Mr. Diusuran continues, and I quote, "Why would a man beat up his wife and batter a 2-year-old? Can that be explained by economic standards?" According to the Rochester Institute of Technology, a major indicator of future criminal behavior is that of abuse or neglect in childhood. Further research by the Walden University depicted that convicted criminals are likely to have experienced 4 times as many adverse childhood events than non-criminals. This study and Mr. Diusaran's questions speaks to domestic violence that is plaguing our country. As of August 2024, there are 1,227 cases of domestic violence, and 28 of these were murders. Clearly, there are deeper underlying issues that are linked to crime, not rooted in poverty. The fast life, fast money mindset is ingrained into our youth. The gangster life is sensationalized, and gangsters are edified in their communities. At a recent United Nations Development Program event I attended, a Rotaractor shared how an income-generating community garden project in an impoverished city in TNT was met with gun violence and gang warfare. Honorable House, this shows that crime stems deeper than poverty. Changing this mindset lies in examples like sub-Saharan African communities, where 2/3 of adults have sought aid in small community gardens. These self-reliant initiatives in impoverished communities are the backbone of many developing economies. Honorable House, we the opposition are in no way indifferent to the plight of the poor. In fact, we support the endless initiatives and projects that exist globally and locally to aid the poor. In TNT, we have the Kids in Need of Direction Foundation, which aims to alleviate poverty and promote child rights and welfare. We have social welfare, which is ready and equipped to help every citizen. We have the United Way Trinidad and Tobago, which provides services targeted to out-of-school and at-risk young persons. And these are just to name a few programs. Honorable House, we must stop using poverty as a scapegoat for crime. Instead, let us dismantle the scourge of stereotyping, the culture of lawlessness, and the fast life, fast money syndrome. Leaders, I ask you to lead by example and show our citizenry the value of hard work for honest pay. Teachers, teach our children to develop a sense of independence and self-reliance. And finally, parents, teach our children to respect the law and make the right choices, no matter how hard it may be. Thank you.
What a powerful start from both teams. Our teams now have 5 minutes to confer before rebuttal. So to you, our viewing audience, we take a short break, but we'll be right back. Welcome back to Make Your Point, the season finale. Both teams have had 5 minutes to confer and are now ready for their rebuttal. Will the proposition speaker to rebut, Mario Monroe of Astor Boys College, San Fernando, please take the floor.
Firstly, I would like to thank the opposition for that extremely articulate and passionate speech. I could tell a lot of research went into that. But now, judges, don't let them make you take a wrong turn into a leap of logical misconception. She said that crime is caused by individual choices, not poverty. But individual choices, and while individual choices do indeed contribute to criminal behavior, it is important to know these choices are shaped by the social and economic environment in which individuals live. I think we can all admit the environment you grow up in is extremely important to how you turn out. Poverty limits access to things like education, healthcare, and stable employment, creating conditions where crime becomes a more valuable option for survival. This aligns with Aristotle's philosophy that I just stated, that true human flourishing depends on stable societal conditions. And while when basic needs are unmet, people often prioritize survival over moral considerations, showing how poverty can drive crime. Secondly, she tried to call me out on discriminating. I want to make something clear. I am not discriminating. We are just speaking the facts here. While it is true that not all impoverished individuals turn to crime, and we are not saying that everybody born into poverty is a criminal, what we are saying is that statistical evidence by the World Bank, by the UN, by the TTPS all show that there's a strong connection between poverty and crime on a broader scale. Areas with high poverty levels generally experience higher crime rates. It's just the truth. For instance, in countries with low HDI scores, crime tends to be higher due to systemic inequalities and limited access to opportunities, which increases the likelihood of criminal behavior as a survival mechanism. Now, they try to quote other factors for you, but let me tell you something. While there are other factors to crime, and we have not denied this, you must understand that poverty is the root cause, and that's the motion that we are presenting here today. Poverty often exacerbates these other issues, limiting access to mental health care. For example, it is more prevalent in impoverished neighborhoods, leaving mental health care issues untreated and increasing the likelihood of crime. Now, she spoke about lawlessness. But for one, we're not here to talk about lawlessness. We're here to talk about poverty, and we're here to talk about crime. And that is why I present it to you. Of course, there's a difference between poverty and lawlessness and crime. Now, judges, our opponent's meaning and by extension description of poverty clearly proves our view. Poverty has many faces, and these faces that my opponents talked about are the various aspects of poverty that we are saying contributes to crime. She also said there's a thin line between poverty and lawlessness, but she's contradicting herself as her words disprove here. I want to leave you with a line. Eric Williams said, "The future of our children is in our backpacks for education." And ladies and gentlemen, what we advocate for is increasing things like education, family structure. Thank you.
Now will the opposition speaker to rebut, Ada Ramprasoon of San Fernando Central Secondary School. Please take the floor.
Crime lies not in the absence of money, but in the absence of a conscience. It arises not from deprivation, but from a betrayal of your values. The opposition asserts that crime is an act of desperation. Poverty does not remove an individual's capacity to choose their actions. Poverty is not a gun to the head that forces someone to commit an act like theft. The poor can be resourceful, access community support, or do literally any job to survive rather than turn to crime. Integrity, strength, and the conscious choice to respect the law can prevail despite financial hardship. Ultimately, crime is a decision, and poverty alone does not dictate that one must commit a crime. In a 2024 Guardian interview, 2011 Calypso monarch Ash rejected that poverty is the root cause of crime. Drawing from her own experience, she stated, "I grew up in it. I lived it. I came out of it. I am a living testimony." She continued, quote, "Criminals believe that they are entitled to what is yours. No one should think that someone owes them something." I noticed that the proposition failed to address white-collar crimes. Is he suggesting that only poor people are criminals? Take, for example, the Netflix series Inventing Anna, the true story of a middle-class woman who committed fraud and embezzlement to fund a lavish lifestyle. Newsflash, everybody, rich or poor, wants more money. You know why? Because everybody is comparing their lifestyle to the other. For some reason, my opponent neglects the fact that there are organizations that have been tirelessly working to aid the plight of the poor. My colleague highlighted a number of programs that offer hope, solace, and refuge. It is unfortunate, as revealed in a study at UWI, that only 38% of people are aware of social programs designed to assist those who dwell in poverty. Honorable House, this is a systemic issue. It needs to be addressed by leaders, heads of governments, and institutions, once again showing that if there are factors that contribute to poverty, then poverty itself can never be the root cause of crime. To lay blame on poverty for crime is to misunderstand the profound depths of its origins. Crime is not born from mere want. Crime is not born from hunger. Crime is not born from deprivation. It is, however, born from the tragic decay of morality, integrity, hard work, and accountability. Crime is not the product of a root cause. Crime is not the product of poverty. Thank you.
Once again, both teams will now be given 5 minutes each to confer before summary. So we take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back back to Make Your Point, the finals. Both teams have had 5 minutes to confer and are now ready to summarize. Will the proposition speaker to summarize, Jaheim Nicholas of Astor Boys College, San Fernando, please take the floor.
Our opponents have talked about a fast lifestyle. Again, the points backs up our beliefs. This fast lifestyle, this fast lifestyle included talks about gang involvement, which eventually leads to guess what? Crime. And where does this fast lifestyle stem from? I'll give you a minute to think. Exactly. Poverty. The conditions inherent in poverty are not just financial deficits. They include food and housing insecurity, limited access to quality education and healthcare, and often a sense of hopelessness. Poverty also contributes to environments where crime seems to be the only path forward, especially where essential needs and opportunities remain far out of reach. Our discussion today emphasizes that poverty stretches beyond finances. It represents a lack of essentials, both material and moral, that are required not only for survival, but for virtuous living and meaningful contribution. Poverty in its complete form erodes access to opportunities, resources, self-worth, and fundamental values, clouding the ability to make rational and meaningful decisions, creating a fertile ground where crime can thrive. This is why we argue that poverty lies at the root of crime. We have provided data linking high crime rates with impoverished areas, especially in Latin America and the Caribbean, where cycles of poverty and violence reinforce one another. Here in Trinbago, we observe similar patterns. Crime doesn't merely coexist with poverty. The condition it creates, destitution, frustration, disenfranchisement, often set the stage for hopeless acts. While we agree that not all the impoverished engage in crime, we must recognize that destitute environments foster circumstances where crime becomes a possibility, if not a choice. And while the wealthy may not suffer from financial poverty, they are not immune to moral poverty. This lack of ethical values or community responsibility can lead to crime in subtler yet impactful ways. I'm talking about white-collar crime here, people. And our research leads us to a powerful conclusion. The root cause of crime is poverty. Crime is a symptom of societal conditions, and at its core, we find poverty in all its various forms. Thank you.
Now, will the opposition speaker to summarize, Jabari Brathwaite of San Fernando Central Secondary School, please take the floor.
It deeply saddens me that my very own neighbors would come here today to try to use poverty as a scapegoat to explain crime. How disappointing. Honorable House, if I were a poor person sitting in the audience today, I'd feel utterly insulted by the proposition. Why must my economic standing brand me as a potential criminal? It's exactly this branding and stereotyping that criminals use to justify crime. Poverty does not define one's values or character. To reduce the poor to potential criminals is to ignore the hard work and resilience demonstrated by so many, like our very own Prime Minister, who rose above hardship. With our nation ranking the top 10 of countries for the highest crime rates, if we were to adhere to the proposition's argument, we should expect to find a rank equally as high in the highest poverty rates. Yet, this isn't the case. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because poverty is not the root cause of crime. Furthermore, if poverty were the root cause of crime, white-collar crime really shouldn't exist. Surely the proposition isn't suggesting that crimes like bribery and money laundering, often committed by the wealthy, is motivated by a lack of wealth as compared to their associates, making them poor? White-collar crime is overwhelmingly committed by the most affluent, demonstrating yet again that poverty is not the root cause of crime. This being destitute somehow grant criminals an excuse to rob, kill, steal, kidnap, rather than seeking out the many support programs from both NGOs and the government. Instead of working towards self-reliance, as communities in sub-Saharan Africa and other developing nations have done, they chose a path of harm. Honorable House, I may come off as a bit cynical this morning, but it's because as a young person, I am tired of living in a state of fear. I am tired of criminals using the poverty card as an excuse for their wrongdoing. While my colleagues and I wholeheartedly empathize with the less fortunate, it is high time that we hold our citizens accountable for their actions. Poverty does not give the one a right or an excuse to steal another's hard-earned money or God-given life. Honorable House, poverty is not a root cause of crime. It's merely an easy excuse that does a disservice to our hardworking citizens. Because at the end of the day, crime is a matter of choice and values, not economic standing. Is crime truly a lifeline? I thank you.
This concludes this season's debates. Let's give both teams a well-deserved round of applause. Judges, your feedback.
First of all, I want to start by saying that this is another fantastic year of Make Your Point, and you are two fantastic final teams. Trinidad and Tobago is proud of what you've done here today, and we are in good hands. I want to start with a proposition, and you, Mario, you were good both as a proposer and a rebuttal of this topic today. I think you had so many sources. At one point, I said, I need you in my newsroom because you've done so much research in terms of what the UN has to say. You had the history in terms of what's coming from the philosophers on this topic, and you also brought it home in terms of evidence coming out of Trinidad and Tobago. So I thought you were very good, not only at the start, but also, as I said, in terms of what you responded to on this very topic here. I also thought that Jaheim came in and gave you some support. Jaheim, the first part was not as strong. I thought you were struggling because you were focused on the style of it. But as we got to the end, your real energy and your focus there came out in terms of the topic and bringing home the point at the end of the day that you think that crime is indeed linked to your circumstances. Let me turn to the opponents. A lot of women on this side and a lot of emotion in terms of the argument as well. How can you basically say that somebody, because they're poor, is responsible for the crime situation? I like the fact that you were able to point out that it is not only people who are poor who are committing crime. So I thought that that was a strong start from Ajali in terms of bringing that emotion into the argument, and she's making the point as well, you can't stereotype poor people. We have other people who are committing crimes. So I thought that was brought home very strong from the team. I liked your reference as well to the Prime Minister, Rowley. He started in humble circumstances, and so too Mr. Pandey, but they rose above their circumstances. I thought as well, though, that you could have widened it even more beyond the politicians to bringing other sections of society. One of the great boasts is that entertainers, ordinary people from every aspect of our society is able to overcome their circumstances. So I thought I would have pressed it home if I were you, not just use the newspaper articles to say that a man beat his wife and you're saying that that is the reason why, because he came from a poor circumstance, but drive it home for us in terms of look at this person, look at this other individual, look at me, look at whoever else on my team. We all had humble beginnings, but look at us. The second person that spoke was Ada, I think it was. Ada, you were very good as well. In fact, I thought that you supported your leader on your team very strongly. I liked everything that you said, and I liked your inflection as well in terms of how you argued it. I think you made the point that ultimately crime is a choice that somebody is making. It is a systemic issue, you said, and that poverty is not the primary cause. Crime is something that because you're hungry, you're not going to commit crime. So I thought you were, again, touching on the emotions. But what I would have liked a little bit more from your team would have been changing the argument away from crime as the factor and telling us more of what is then the major cause if it is not crime. But Barry, you brought it home in terms of the summary for your team, arguing again from the standpoint that it's not only people who are poor that are committing crimes, but I would just like that one extra piece in terms of turning the argument on its head now to show us what is the primary cause of crime if it is not poverty. So that's it from me.
I find it, of course, that the topic, the question, the root cause of crime is poverty, is something everybody has strong views upon. And I think in that way you both worked the argument to engage the audience very well. I think Mario, very intense at times, and I'm Irish, so I speak very quickly, but I was impressed at how quickly you were speaking. The rattling out of the philosophers and the other arguments was almost exceptional. A bit more on eye contact could have been better, a bit more, engaging with the audience. And I feel that you opened extremely well. In terms of Jaheen, then I felt your presence was very good, the way in which you stood and held and presented yourself and gave your points. We had arguments like fast gang, well, that was part of the rebuttal, but the arguments that you directly addressed what the opposition team was saying in your response. I liked that very much. For the colleagues Aisha Lee and the rest, I liked very much your engagement. I liked the eye contact. I liked the way in which you were shaping your arguments. You were very good you gave good examples. You spoke about strong moral values. And you also did things as you repeated certain words. I mentioned fast already, but fast crime, fast choices. You mentioned the values people had, so I felt that your arguments were very good in terms of you were coming forward and dealing with a lot of data from Mario, but you fought back, if you wish, with very good, concise arguments in yours. Ada, I also found you very good. I thought that you again engaged very well. You have a good body posture when you were speaking, with a lot of good eye contact with the audience. But frankly, Jabari, I was also very impressed by you. Honestly, the way in which you held the ground, held the position, and you ended with a question, which I thought was very good to the audience. So, I mean, that put us on the spot. So again, look, well done, and we'll have to obviously debate it between ourselves, but very high standard indeed, and really you all have merit in being here. Thank you.
Mario, I thought that you were fabulous. I thought that you started very well. You gave us a dramatic opening, and then you entered into a discussion about definitions, which is always very important. We need to know what is the topic that we're talking about and what are the means by which we're going to measure our arguments, so that the introduction at the early stage of your address of definitions was extremely helpful to me. I loved your wider definition of poverty, not just a lack of financial resources, but a lack of other resources. And I thought that that underscored your argument quite well. You did very well with your sources, your sourcing, you quoted well, you communicated well, and you anticipated very effectively. Towards the end of your speech, you anticipated, you told us to be wary of the arguments that the other side would come with. And I thought that was very effective because that created a framework for us to analyze the other side's argument. So well done to you. You also did the rebutting. You were excellent as a rebutter, I thought. You identified the specific points that the other side had made, and you attacked them one by one. I thought that you did a really fabulous job. We had Asia Lee. I thought Asia Lee was an extremely effective communicator, communicated extremely well, maintained a lot of eye contact, had a lot of interaction with the audience, and that worked very well to make your arguments ever so more persuasive. You appealed to emotion. You used ad hominem, the technique, the rhetorical technique of ad hominem. You referred to examples, Basdio Pandey, Dr. Rowley. I mean, those are all extremely effective techniques of debating. And you gave some powerful examples. The example of the spouse who beats his spouse and then beats a 2-year-old. How does poverty explain that? I thought that was an extremely interesting question and a powerful one. Ada, you were extremely effective as well. There was one thing that I came to understand a little better when Ada spoke, and that is there is a thesis statement that your side advanced that I had a little difficulty struggle with, and it is this. You seem to be arguing that because poverty might have multiple causes, poverty could not singly be the cause or the root cause of something else. So I'm not quite sure that I followed that logic, because the fact that a single thing has multiple causes does not necessarily mean that that thing cannot singly be the root cause of something else. So that gave me a little difficulty, and that difficulty really gelled when I heard Ada repeat the argument. But the way that it was put forward was exceptionally effective. Eye contact, passionate. There is a genuineness about the emotion that you are expressing while you are speaking, and that matched your words exceptionally well. Jaheem, very good. You were very effective in reinforcing what the arguments of your team were, so that insofar as you were coming in as a summary speaker, you did your job, and you did that job very effectively. You need to, I suppose, work on your cadence, because you spoke a little quickly at times, and there were times when you dropped your voice at the end of your sentences, so that I didn't catch everything that you were saying. And you read a little bit too often, so that you need to work on your cadence, and you need to work on maintaining eye contact. But you did an excellent job intellectually in defining the arguments and in redefining the arguments that your team had made, so well done. And then we had Jabari. I thought Jabari was amazing. Jabari, you maintained a rapport with this audience that was to die for. I mean, you had them chuckling at one point in time, and I thought that you did an exceptionally good job. You maintained eye contact, you got the audience to chuckle with you, and you reinforced your thesis statement that crime is a matter, your team's thesis statement that crime is a matter of choice. And that was very, very well done. So congratulations to all of you. As I say, you've made all of us, you've made your schools, your teachers, your parents, and the country proud. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, judges. And once again, congratulations to both teams. Let's hear it again for both our teams. Now, while the judges confer and tally the results to determine our Make Your Point Season 3 National Champion, it is my pleasure to introduce 2024 National Poetry Slam Champion Shakira Burton to the stage.
Honorable House, look at your hands. These able-bodied limbs Almighty God give you to be a catalyst for change. You using to be a menace to society. Holding 4 pounds of pure iron and 8 inches of trouble, your Glock 17 has a magazine capacity to shatter lives. So this 9x19 millimeter does give you power. This is not Grand Theft Auto. It's real life free fire, but you is a boss. And with your larger than life Zessa pendant and 22 inches gold chain, pants sagging from your waistline as your Gucci belt struggles to keep it attached to your hip. Yeah, shame. Young, good-looking boy like you. Secondary school educated, able to read and write too. Prefer to rob and kill for the thrill of adrenaline. You? Somebody good son. Prefer to see the blood of your brethren run like dirt against the pavement because all you're too lazy and want money easy. So you kill a TTRS driver and call that quick money, right, youths? I get it. It's just business to you. Tell that to the 605 that died in 2022. To the murders in Black Rock, Tobago, and Santa Cruz. I understand why people no longer watch the news. It's depressing and frustrating to see headlines never changing with the next murder coming before we even have time to grieve. As like integrity is something youths no longer perceive. No ambition, no motivation. The social media lifestyle is instant gratification, so you don't understand the value of working hard for nothing. So somebody puts a piece of metal in your hand and you thinking that real thing, you's a baddest. But it's just another statistic. Young black boy headed for jail or a casket, and this is one problem the government have nothing to do with. It have no PNM or UNC we could blame for it, because the fact is we cannot hold the government accountable for your moral standing. And it is my educated understanding that the fast life is not a sustainable one, because all bad men have an expiration date. Back in my day, gangster wasn't meant to be popular, but Zessa is the new superstar where sea lots fishermen just purchase Range Rovers in cash. And if that is not stupidity, answer me, why would a dead man need a Bluetooth headset and money? That is the road you want to walk, honey. Save your mother the trip to YTC. Ask the last Quavers King. You need to think, because even Robin Hood is still Robin, and it's not free if the price is somebody's life for living by ill-gotten means could never be a sweet fruit. So here's the truth. An empire built by blood must be maintained by blood, or else it's going to crumble. So don't fumble with the value of your life, because the price of crime is one you cannot pay. And when it all hit the fan, here's what they're going to say. The classic Trinidadian way. Say it with me. All your police too? Wicked. He was a good boy. But it's just my hope that this poem will provide a shift in mindset before you regret the life you live in. Because just like stones don't have eyes, bullets don't have names, and it's all fun and games until a bullet touches somebody that close to you. Why we just wait till it reaches so far to do what we're supposed to do? Because every time a mother loses a child, just know it could have been you. And on any given day, you could have been in Shishu with a white tent setting up home by you, your niece, your nephew, 15 murders in one weekend, and all you move. So what we going and do? Or is it that the crime situation don't affect you? Don't tell me don't have no other avenue, pipe, all set, amplify, all them programs available to do. Make your point. But if crime is what you choose to do, I just hope you love the consequences too.
Thank you very much, Shakira, for that powerful performance. Now, as in any production, there is a director's cut. In this case, a gift of sorts, words of wisdom, a message of motivation. Please welcome to the stage renowned motivational speaker, Luke Kwamina.
I believe we've all witnessed and have had evidence this morning of some of the greatest minds in this debate. We've always heard the statement that our youth are the leaders of tomorrow, and I'm sure we will all admit that they are leading today. A point has been made, and my challenge to the students who have served in this platform over the last 2 seasons and in this season is, after you've made your point, I want to challenge you to make a difference. Become a person who is a difference maker. So I have one message with 3 points that I want to do in just under 5 minutes. And to become a difference maker, you have to know what will make a difference. A very simple way to know what will make a difference is learning to add value to others. What do people value? What are the problems that you observe every day? I remember looking at a Netflix series, Inside Bill's Brain, about Bill Gates as he sits down in his office, listens to classical music, and in the middle of the classical music, there are numerical equations that pop up, and he allows his brain to take practice at solving problems. I thought it was very, very interesting that he keeps his brain in the context of becoming a problem solver. So yes, we have made our point, but to make a difference, we have to get up every day and ask ourselves, what problem am I born to solve? And how can I get up every day and add value wherever and whenever I go? The second thing in becoming a difference maker is to associate with those who actually want to make a difference. Back in my day, I would hear a word called get together with the like-minded. I'm 44 years now, and what I will add to that is get together also with the like-hearted. Because to make a difference, it's not just the hands that you can get involved, but the hearts that you can bring together. Who sees the cause? Who feels the conviction? Who's ready to pay a price? Who is going to see beyond the paycheck that we can spend our lives doing something that can actually make a difference? It was Martin Luther King Jr. that says, if a man does not discover what he will die for, then that life is not worth living. The last thing in making a difference is not just knowing what makes a difference, getting together with those who are like-minded and like-hearted, who want to make a difference, but actually doing the things that we debated. If we've made our point, let's make action happen. You know, I've always heard that well done is much better than well said. So after we have inspired ourselves around discussion, we must now move from inspiration to perspiration. I leave you with a quote that has really impacted my life by John C. Maxwell. Life rewards action. That's how we will make a difference. Thank you.
Last time we reviewed the concept of saving. Today we will explore the basics of budgeting and debt management. What is a budget? A monthly plan to track what you spend so that you set aside resources for the future. One basic rule of budgeting is a 50-30-20 rule. Spend 50% of your allowance on needs and obligations like traveling to school, extracurricular activities, and lunch. 30% may be spent on items you want but not necessarily need. Electronic gadgets, movies. 20% on saving for that iPhone or that PS5 game or outfit for graduation. It is also important to reevaluate your budget as your financial situation changes. So when your allowance increases, be sure to review the 50-30-20 allocation. Managing debt. Debt is not a bad thing. As you progress through life, many goals are achieved through the access of debt or loans. Education, a new car, your own home. It is important not to overextend yourself as your monthly debt repayment forms part of your 50% spending. Understanding what are the terms and conditions of each debt. What are the costs of these debts to you? Example, the interest payments. Ensure that payments are made on time by setting up monthly automatic payments. Where possible and extra resources are available, try to pay down higher interest debt. You are never too young to learn and understand the concepts of financial literacy. Adopt these simple habits today and enjoy financial freedom tomorrow. At First Citizens, we are here to partner with you along your financial roadmap to ensure that you achieve all your financial goals.
San Fernando Central Secondary School also receives $200 TT gift certificates, each courtesy Standard. I would like to invite Marketing Coordinator Ms. Vijaya Singh to present these prizes. Her Excellency Christine Carla Kanglu, ORTT, President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, will now present San Fernando Central Secondary School with the Make Your Point Season 3 Runners-Up Trophy. Congratulations! Panis, Johan Chukri, and Joshua Regello.